Alright guys, I'm going to get freaking real with you for a minute when it comes to the 4090 experience. So, welcome back to Frogboy X1 Gaming. I'm Andrew, and today we are going to be talking about the real experience of what you could experience if you bought a 90 series card or 4090. Okay, now I know I'm super late to the party. We're talking about 2-year, almost 3-year-old tech now at this point. It's almost been a whole year since the Blackwell GPUs and the RDNA 4 have come out. So yeah, I get it that I'm behind the curve. You know, things definitely change. New technologies come out, make things, you know, less likely to be as performant, or make things that are weaker even more performant. But let's look at this from a realistic point of view, because essentially my whole build is from that generation. 7800X3D, best CPU for gaming that you could get during that generation, a 4090. So I mean, I have right now what everybody was using back there to show off these platforms when they first came out. So I don't think, and I've went back and I've tested a bunch of those games from that time period. I've looked at Cyberpunk. I've looked at a lot of games over the last day, and you know, I know that I put out the little videos about the regret and stuff, and it's not that I regret the money invested into it. Like it's just that I regret falling for the notion that like the 90 series is just going to solve all your problems. And I really do believe a lot of people in the comments section, when they tell me that, like, oh man, I love my 4090 and it just does this. But then I scratch my head, because I look at the experience that I'm currently having right now with it, using it the same way I would use any other GPU that I have, and like, you guys have been at this channel for a while, you know that this beginning of this generation, things have like been a lot different for me, a lot more positive about PC gaming, a lot more positive about the experience that I'm having with both Blackwell and RDNA 4. I think they're incredible experiences right now. And so going back to a 4090 and actually taking a look, an overall look at this experience. First of all, okay, if you buy a 90 series GPU, the thing that you are going to probably need to make sure is you can't just buy a high-end GPU and automatically expect a high-end experience. Like, you pretty much need a high-end build to support that as well. That means you're going to have the fastest gaming CPU available, which is technically the 9800X3D now. You're probably going to want to make sure that you've got like a good screen. Like, you're not putting this on a 1440p monitor. You're not putting this on a 1080p monitor. You're going to need a 4K monitor, because I find myself stuck at 4K now. I mean, I mean, it's not a bad thing. Like you are stuck at 4K, and so if your game isn't going to be performant at 4K, then you're kind of up a creek without a paddle. Like, you're kind of up a creek without a paddle. If the 4090 can't push it, I mean, I guess you could try 1440p, but then if your CPU is not fast enough, then you find yourself in another predicament with this GPU. And I'm not even joking. Somebody said this in the comments section. The games that used to feel kind of janky on everything else that I've played it on, you know, games like Avatar felt kind of janky before. You would have games that just, you know, would just not give you the optimal experience, where the 4090 comes in. It actually absolutely pushes those games a lot better. It does. But then games that are already really well optimized on my 9070 XT or the 5070 Ti or any of the other cards I've used before, those games run poorly. Now I'm sitting there and I'm playing Assassin's Creed Valhalla, okay? And I used to get like 120 plus frames a second on a 7900 XTX, and that felt pretty dang optimized. I was hitting 99% GPU utilization and everything. And then I put in the 4090, and like, I'm getting the same performance. So we all know the 4090 is a stronger card than the 7900 XTX. Maybe not by a whole lot, but it is stronger. Like, it is stronger. And so I look at these games and I look at the experience that I get from them, and a lot of things start to feel unoptimized, but a lot of things do feel better. Like some of these newer games, they have like the full-on ray tracing and all of that stuff. You can usually get those to max out on a 4090. You can. And the thing is, where I'm struggling with this is those same games on Blackwell and RDNA 4 have better frame generation performance, have better, you know, they have all of the bells and whistles, so you get technically a little bit better experience on those GPUs than you are getting on a 4090, which is essentially twice the cost of those older GPUs. So I look at this from a point of view to where it's like, look, I'm not trying to like bring down the 4090. It is an amazing card. Like, it is good, and there are definitely use cases for it. But at the same time, I don't want the community to go into these 90 class GPUs thinking they're like, oh my gosh, I need that. Look, you really don't. You really don't. It's more of a It's probably more of a headache. These GPUs are legit built for AI, and they are legit built for people that have deep pockets, that can afford to do this kind of stuff. For the average gamer out there, you know, I just think there's this sentiment out there around these GPUs that you get this false sense of security with a 4090. I had that false sense of security with the 7900 XTX, and then I get a 9070 XT and I start playing around on that, and I'm like, wait a minute, my 7900 XTX, I was like, damn, this card is a beast. I legit felt when I bought that, when I got the 9070 XT, that I was just probably going to end up testing it and then throwing the 7900 XTX back in there, but that didn't happen. I feel like the 9070 XT is a better experience than what I was getting on the 7900 XTX. And so like when I look at that and I'm like, dang man, that was the top end GPU. And now the top end 70, you know, like the 70 class cards, my friends, this generation really are pulling their weight. Now, somebody in the community, man, he just bought himself a 5070. And we were sitting here today, and on Cyberpunk 2077, on a 4090, with everything maxed out, with the freaking path tracing on, with DLSS and performance mode, with frame generation enabled, I'm cracking right around 100 frames a second. So I asked him, I was like, hey, tell me what you get on the 4090 or on the 5070. This is the 5070 12 gigabyte at 4K, maxed out settings with MFG 4X. He's getting 130 frames. 130. And I asked him, I was like, so how janky does it feel? Does it feel super janky? And he's like, no, I could absolutely play this. And I'm like, because, you know, and he sends me some like clips of videos and stuff, and he's like, oh, you see this barbed wire right here starts to fizzle out, and maybe like these signs start to fizzle, they get a little janky and stuff. But overall, the experience is playable at those settings. Same settings I'm rocking on a 4090 with 30 frames less. 30 frames less on a significantly more powerful GPU, pound for pound, when it comes to rasterized performance. But the thing is when I turn on path tracing on a 4090, I get 20 frames, 22 to be exact, 22 frames. And that is exactly 40% better than my 9070 XT at its, well, actually, is that even 40%? It's like 12 to 16 frames a second. So, I mean, you see where that goes? You see, it's like, yeah, man, NVIDIA can claim 50% performance increase over a 9070 XT at rasterized power with path tracing enabled, because one literally gets 10 frames, or yeah, one gets 10, the other one gets 20. So that is essentially a 50% increase in power. Oh, actually, what is that? That's almost 100%. If it's 10 and then 20. So yeah, it's like 16. I don't know. It comes out to like 40% better, or I don't know. Like it's crazy, but that's why I hate the percent thing. That's why I literally hate the percent thing. Like I think it is so misleading and so damaging, because You go out, like say you got a 4090 and you're like, I get 22 frames. And then they're like, yeah, but the 5090 gives you another 50% increase. So you're like, okay, 50% of that. So that should give me 30 frames. You're like, what? Yeah, 50%. 50% is a big number. And then you look at it and you're like, wait a minute. Damn, that's 10 frames. So at the end of the day, my friends, it's like, look, the 4090 is not an infallible beast. It's good. Like, don't get me wrong, it's good, and I'm probably going to end up keeping it. I'm probably just going to end up getting a 9800X 3D or something. I don't know. It never ends. And then the NVIDIA guys in the comments section are like, well, if you don't like it, just sell it. Why do you guys always move the goalposts? Why can't you just listen to what the hell I'm saying and be like, all right, Frog, we understand, you know, like we get it. You think differently than a lot of other people, where everybody else just hypes everything up and they're like just fine with whatever they get. You actually look at things a little bit deeper and you try to find the meaning. And I do. I try to find the meaning. And so, like, I've been gaslit so much on this channel, and then I've put my money where my mouth is. I've put my money where my mouth is, and I've bought these things. Everybody told me, get a 4090, Frog, and you'll truly see. Okay, well, if I would have got this GPU back then, do you really think this would have made me happy, or do you think I would have just been like, okay, this is annoying because now certain things are unoptimized. Certain things are unoptimized. The 4090, like, I'm not even joking, guys. It's almost like this is the most unoptimized experience that you can get in terms of like in terms of like scalability. Okay, in terms of like scalability. You look at like play like say something at like 1080p or 1440p, you know, if you're not running it at 4K where it shines, then the experience starts to fall apart. Whereas like the 9070 XT or the 5070 Ti, you can legit play those from 1080p to 4K using crutches like MFG4X and DLSS and all of that to actually get a good playable 4K experience. Whereas what tools are you going to use to play the 4090 at 1080p? What tools are you going to use to get a better 1440p experience? Like what are you going to do? The only like it legit feels like I'm stuck at 4K and I can't transcend anything else. The only thing I can do is continue to try to go up. And I mean, I guess I could go back to my days of like down sampling from a higher resolution to try to get a better performance. I mean, like, I'm not opposed to that, but that's probably something for this week. Like right now, as it sits, like trying to just use the 4090 as I would use any other GPU, like it is confusing and it is frustrating. Okay, like I'm not trying to be mean to this GPU, but next week we're gonna move over to possibly, you know, using DLSR and try to downsample from higher resolutions to see if we can fix and mitigate some of the issues that we're having with this. But I've always struggled with DLSR because I wish it was more like AMD's solution to where I can just put enable VSR and boom, it works. I can select any resolution from freaking 480p all the way to freaking 8K on that GPU on the games. And so with DLSS or DLSR, it just doesn't work the same way. So it's like it's kind of an annoying process. But look, we're gonna try that because there's a lot of games that I think would really benefit from that because they're just so the number, like the performance is just so skewed that I think that going to 8K and downsampling would probably help this GPU out a lot, which isn't a bad thing. But I mean, like, I feel bad for all the people that are buying this for 4K and then they're like struggling to, I don't know, guys. I don't know. I'm not upset with the 4090. Like, I'm not upset with it, but I just feel like the whole experience, if people were just honest, could be better for everybody. But they just go out and they test it on the fastest stuff they got and they show you side by sides and they don't ever show you the like day to day, like, look, man, this GPU can really suck in this situation. And I don't know, I guess I could start trying, but yeah, I don't know, guys. Like I'm feeling like I'm feeling like 4090 is just kind of a waste of money for gaming. I feel like you would be better off just having something that just feels more optimized, something that gives you better, you know, scalability for like 1080p and 1440p and stuff like that. I feel like those would be better. But all right, my friends, if you guys like this content, don't forget to like and subscribe. I'll see you in the next one. Thanks for watching.